are mine now. You belong to me. Today we're going to play a new fun game.
Namaste, Nicole. Namaste. My name's Dan.
Your name is Jan, is it?
My name's Dan today. That's what I'm calling myself. What are you calling yourself today?
I'll call myself Nick today. Why not?
Nick.
Adventurous. Woo!
Hello, Nick. How are you
How's it
doing?
going? It was a bit shit last week, but it's
Why?
it's going better. It's getting
Why?
better.
What's happened?
Going back into lockdown. Bloody marvelous.
How long are you in for?
At the moment for 6 weeks. I mean, it's not the worst. Like, we can still go out to the shops if we need to. We can go, I think in my area at least, we're allowed to go out for a walk and do some exercise. There's a lot of people around the world that are far worse off than us. So
Yeah, there was loads of news reports at the weekend, right? London's sort of pretty much opened back up again, and there's people spilling out the streets and pubs in Soho and stuff.
I saw that.
And I just don't.
Soho was full of people. Like, what the fuck, man? Have they got takeaway pints yet?
What, in Soho?
one of those, man. Well, no, but you live in Southend. But if there's like what, 3 pubs, 3 good places to go in Southend.
In Southend, I think you're overestimating how many good places there are in Southend.
Oh,
there's a couple of places, and yeah, you can go get a takeaway beer and stuff, but
not the same.
I want to be out in the world, and I want to be like in a pub and socialise and stuff like that, which is odd for me to say, but I don't want to be exposed to all these humans that are carrying all these germs. So I think the only way that I would sort of venture out into a pub is if I sort of dressed in a giant condom. I think that's the only way forward.
I was about to say that.
Oh no! Oh no! I stole your joke. I saw it brewing in your head, and I was like, "No, I'm going to have that."
I did a soup swap on Saturday.
You were telling me about this soup swap.
8 of my friends' mates each made a soup, went to her house and dropped off the pot of soup. I helped her distribute within everyone's containers the different soups, and then I brought 8 soups back home. I've tried 2 so far. One of them was mine, so I had a broccoli soup today. That was all right. There's a spicy lentil that smells fucking amazing. I'm looking forward to eating that on a really cold day.
Yeah, that'll warm you up. How spicy are we talking?
Oh man, like I opened it up and like I was like, oh my bowels are not gonna feel great after this, but
no, I imagine not. If you're going in lockdown, you best go and get some of that toilet roll before it goes.
I have to say I've got plenty of toilet roll.
Excellent. Put it in the fridge. Put it in the fridge.
Yes, we'll definitely do that. Good idea, man. Fridge, toilet paper in the fridge.
It's so soothing. It feels wonderful. You know that. Listen, let's not get into toilet habits. What flavour was your soap? Which one did you make?
So it was a Thai coconut peanut soup.
Oh, that sounds incredible.
It had to be vegetarian though, so I used tofu.
Did you use vegetarian coconuts?
Yeah, they were treated well.
Okay, good.
To the
it wasn't locked in cages. No coconut cage.
Actually, when I got home...
Look, Nicole's got another message. Look, she's got another message. Last week, we made her read it out to the whole class. Should we do the same again?
Did I get a message? What?
Yeah.
Oh, I did. Well, look at you. One of my mates in Switzerland, it's her birthday today. And I've got a group chat with her and another mate.
What's your friend's name whose birthday it is?
Sandra.
That's my mum's name. Happy birthday, Sandra. Your soups. You was talking about your soups.
I was talking about my soups.
Before we got rudely interrupted by Sandra.
So I got home, bless my mum, she was waiting for me, and then she went to bed and I was just flicking through the channels and I forgot that there was a life drawing class on SBS. I was like, oh shit, I wish I had some charcoal and pencils because I would have joined in. It's quite interesting.
Awesome.
Have you ever
was it
done
nudes?
Yeah, nude drawing.
Was it? Send me a link.
There's a UK one. The UK one is this week, mate.
I'm terrible at drawing. Honestly, like I'm so bad. I can draw. I'm all right at because I studied building at school, and part of that was like architecture and design and stuff. So I'm all right
Oh,
at
yeah.
drawing buildings. I can draw boxes,
Yeah.
but because that's just like straight lines and you've got to be within design parameters and stuff, it's quite easy to do that because you've got this construct. But if someone sits to me and just goes, draw something, I'm like, what do you mean?
But if it's something in front of you, you couldn't draw it.
It would be pretty bad.
I've got some charcoal and some pencils, so I might check it out. See how.
Does it have to be charcoal?
You can use crayons. You can use coloured pencils.
You could use like tea bags or get really arty, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Blood.
I mean, I'm not.
Get blood. Poo.
Use your snot. Urine. I don't know. We're going too far on this.
Well, I think art is art. Art is what you bring to it.
Yes, exactly. When I was watching it, I told my mum the next day about it. I go, remember that time we went to that hen do? She had her hen's party at the gym, and they got a life drawing stripper.
Right. So someone strips and everyone draws them, or he draws everyone else?
No.
Strips. Or she?
No, so it was a he.
Okay.
So he was dressed as a police officer, and there was like 4 poses. So he was him in his outfit, and then the second one was with him and the bride-to-be, and then nude back, and then nude front. They were the 4 drawings we had to do. And imagine, I'm doing this with my mum. I couldn't care less because I've done life drawing before. So we were doing it, and then like he turns frontwards, and everyone's like, oh! And I'm just like, yeah, whatever. And they're like, you know embarrassed doing this with your mum? I'm like, nah, I couldn't care less. But apparently she couldn't look. She was just like focusing on other things.
She's embarrassed. She's like, I need another page. I've run out of space.
I can't do this in front of my daughter.
Oh, that's funny. When I was at school, you have to pick what you're going to be doing for the next couple of years. And I picked art. I was speaking to my art teacher, and I said, I was like, if we in the next couple of years, are we going to get to draw live like nude models? And she went, yeah. She was like, yeah, of course. She was like, that's in like every year we do that. I was like, sweet, sign me up. So I did it, and then I was doing it for I started a new year, and I had about 3 weeks in this art class, and like I said, I'm awful at drawing, so like I'm completely out of my depth here. Everyone's really into it and drawing well, and I'm doing like can't even draw a carrot. And I sort of had a word with the teacher, and this is another teacher, and I said, when are we going to get the nude models in, sir? He's like, what? I was like, get live nude models in. He's like, no. I was like, oh, Miss so and so told me about it. He was like, no, she was joking with you. Oh. I changed to media studies, and I did that instead. I should have just done that in the first place, really. Oh, I wasn't expecting to be talking about art today. Because I do sometimes, I sort of sit there and I think, oh, what am I going to talk about today? I haven't really done much. But we always come up with something. Well done.
I end up.
Art.
What have you been up to, Dan?
Not an awful lot, really, to be honest. I'm back running again, so I've done a little bit of that. Apart from that, not very much. No accidents this week, no dramas. Just been. Yay!
Well done, dude.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you.
I know. Thanks. I'm really proud of me. It's only a matter of time before I fall into a pit or something. Where they have the roadworks and they have the signs outside, the little barriers. Yeah, I'm gonna. One day it's gonna happen. Every time I walk past one, I look at it and I think, yeah, I know. One day it's gonna happen. I've been sitting down. I've been playing a lot of my guitar. I learned to play "Message in a Bottle" by the Police, so I'm very happy with that.
When you said "Message in a Bottle," I thought "Genie in the Bottle" by Christina Aguilera.
I'm a genie in a bottle. You gotta rub me the right way. True story. I bought that on the CD.
Brilliant. Was that your first album you bought?
No, it was an early CD, but I think that's where my self-loathing comes from, is purchasing that Christina Aguilera CD. Actually, I think my first ever record was, record. My first musical purchase was a record in the 90s. Pet Shop Boys. It was a song called Can You Forgive Her? And my first CD was a song by, what were they called? I can't remember what the band was called, but it was a song based on the Three Little Pigs. You know, the little kids story time story, Three Little Pigs,
Yeah.
and the wolf and stuff. And it's hilarious because it's like a heavy metal rock tune, and it's like little pig, let me in. Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. It's great. This is like a comedy song, but I've still got it somewhere. I'll have to try and dig it out.
Brilliant.
Maybe I'll put it on Instagram and just see who remembers that tune.
Yeah.
I'm writing that down before I forget it.
Do it.
Trying to think what my record. I can kind of picture the film clip for the song.
It's like Mrs. Not
Robinson.
Stacey's mum. It wasn't.
Oh, I
Stacey's
know
mum.
what you mean. Stacey's mom has got it going on.
It could have been that. It could have been those guys. It was either those guys, or I definitely bought Aqua when I was young.
Oh, fuck me.
And I love you.
Dr. Jones, Dr. Jones, calling Dr. Jones.
Dr. Jones, wait up now. I shouldn't sing because I heard myself last week singing Valerie. I was fucking terrible. Sorry
To everyone that had to listen to that.
Yeah, we apologise.
Have you been watching much, Dan?
I tried to watch. Have you seen Eurotrip?
The first one? Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, so I thought, I need a bit of a laugh. Let's watch something a bit dumb and silly. Let's put on Eurotrip. Yeah. But it was just too dumb and silly. I got 40 minutes in and I turned it off. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do it. My brain's melting. So I turned it off and then I thought, what do I want to watch? Sort of trying to have a bit of a laugh, bit of comedy. So I thought I'll watch a bit of Simon Pegg. Fancied watching a bit of Simon Pegg. So I watched a film called Run, Fat Boy Run.
It's a good light-hearted film. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I watched it when it came out and was kind of like, oh, it's fine. But I enjoyed it a lot more this time, I must say. It's about running and stuff as well. So I had all that going for it. And there's some really good, funny jokes in there. Dylan Moran's in it. He's funny, the Irish guy. He's from Black Books. I don't know if you've ever seen that sitcom.
Yeah, I've seen Black Books. Black Books.
It's good.
Great.
It's great, isn't it? Yeah, I haven't seen it. That's what I'm going to do this week. I'm going to watch Black Books. I haven't seen it for a long, long time. But yeah, there's some good jokes in that. And Simon Pegg always makes me laugh. He's so funny. He's got such great comedic timing and these little mannerisms and stuff. It's just, I think he's very funny. Yeah. And so I watched that. And then directly after, I watched another Pegg film called Hector and the Search for Happiness. And he's like a psychiatrist and he's traveling around the world trying to figure out what makes people happy. And like he meets a drug dealer and he's like, look after your family. And he meets a rich person and he's like, yeah, you've got to just earn loads of money. And it's all these different ideas of what happiness is. And it's all right. It's not, it does drag on a little bit, but it's quite good. It's a bit cheesy. It's a bit on the nose, and a bit emotional, but it's kind of exactly what I needed in a way.
Ooh.
Quite liked it. It was light-hearted, yet emotionally engaging. And then I wanted to see some explosions, so I watched Speed. Fucking love Speed so much. It's literally one of my favourite ever films. Keanu Reeves. I used to watch it on VHS around my nan's all the time when I was a little boy. And now I've got my own telly. So now I watch it myself with my surround sound and it's great. I love it every time. I watch it once a year, probably without fail. So it's kind of... I saw Speed 2 at cinema. And even when I was like... When did that come out? 97. So I was 13 when I watched that. Even when I was 13, I fucking hated it. It was awful.
Yeah.
It's rubbish. Speed 2, rubbish. What about you? What have you been watching?
What have I been watching? I also needed a bit of a laugh this week. So
I don't know if you've got it on your Prime, but in Oz, I watched Last One Laughing, which is Aussie comedians in a room together. They have to not laugh at each other. And they're all trying to like make each other laugh. And if you laugh, you lose. And the last one standing wins $100,000. They're in this room for 6 hours making these stupid jokes. And some of them were quite funny. And then,
I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of Aussie dark humour. Maybe watch it. I don't know. I'm intrigued to see what British people think of our humour.
What was it called?
Last One Laughing.
Last One Laughing. I quite like. I haven't seen an awful lot of Aussie comedy, but I listen to quite a few Aussie podcasts, and sometimes they have comedians coming on, and I don't know if maybe they're popular in Oz or not. I don't know, but yeah, I do find your humour quite funny sometimes because you could be quite crass, you lot, and I like it.
I watched Eurovision this week as well.
Oh, did you?
Have you seen
Netflix?
that?
No, that's the Will Ferrell one, right?
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty funny. Because originally I was like, I should watch this and see if it's potential stitch up. But it's, I don't know. I liked it, so maybe you should watch it and then see what you think.
Well, if it's a comedy, then I might put it on after this. Let's see how we go. If it doesn't make me laugh within the first 4 seconds, I'm turning it off.
What happens in the first 4 seconds? Oh, they're just...
Logo?
Logo, and then put an ABBA in the first 4 seconds.
Oh, ABBA? Fuck off. I'm not watching it. I can't listen to ABBA for 2 hours. Can't do it.
Fast forward 5 minutes and you'd be sorted. Something else that I watched this week was called Modern Love. They're 30-minute episodes. Well, the first one's not too bad. The second one is quite corny, but then after that, the stories are quite good and kind of realistic in a way. The episodes are based on New York. I think it's the New York Times.
A section, like a journalist.
Yeah.
What's it called?
So
I can't remember the column.
A column called Modern Love. One last thing I watched was called Green Light, which was about 2 guys providing medicinal cannabis in Australia. And it was kind of interesting learning how strict our rules are here and like what you're allowed to get medicinal cannabis for. They focused on a few people and then after a few months later went back to see how it worked. It did seem like there was results.
Does that conclude your watch list, or have you got more stuff?
No, I didn't watch very much this week. I was aiming to watch lots of documentaries, and I got I Wonder, which is a new streaming service here in Oz.
Yeah,
which is just documentary based, and I only just watched the one documentary.
Did you? Well, on that note, then, should we move on to our main section, which is documentaries? That's the little segue. That's when you go, let's talk about this thing, and then you can connect it up to the next thing. And go, oh, look, let's do that. Let's say this. And we won't mention it. It would just be a seamless, I've already fucked it, I think. Section 2, then, docos. Last week, we chose to watch Senna and Faces Places, between the Senna being my choice and Faces Places being from your list. What would you like to start with this week?
I feel like we should start with Senna.
Senna, 2010, directed by Asif Kapadia, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Mm-hmm. It's a doco. It features interviews and footage with the man, Ayrton Senna, Alan Prost, Ron Dennis, Rubens Barrichello, Jackie Stewart, Frank Williams. Schumacher's featured in there. Michael Schumacher appears towards the end of the film. And it's got interviews with all of those people, and it's kind of cut together in this kind of narrative that just really tells the story of Senna from his first season in 1984 to his tragic death a decade later in 1994. So I bought this Blu-ray about a year ago, and I haven't watched it, but I've always been fascinated with Senna because it's someone that my dad admired while I was growing up. And he had a lot of time for him, his attitude, his kind of win, and his pursuit of his goal and his passion. I think his character appealed quite a lot to my dad, and that kind of passed down to me. So watching this documentary was really interesting for me to see his career and how it developed. I didn't realise that there's an extended cut and there's a theatrical cut. So me being me, I watched the extended cut, 2 hours and 40 minutes long. And I didn't, I know, and I looked at the theatrical cut afterwards. I didn't watch the theatrical cut, but I skipped to the end to see how long it was, and it was an hour 40. So there's an hour difference. Yeah. So there's a hell of a lot more in the extended cut, but spoilers, I've got a feeling it might have suffered for it. Budget. This really surprised me. $80 million.
Oh, no. To get footage, though, to get, what's the term?
Licensing.
Yeah, to get licensing, it does cost money. So that does not surprise me, because the whole film is literally actual footage
Yeah.
From his whole life.
Box office 10 million, apparently, which really surprised me as well. I thought it would have been a lot more. So Senna, the man, he won 3 world championships. He has 41 wins. He has 80 podium finishes and 65 pole positions. He was racing in Formula 1 for a decade. So he started in 84 with Tolman, I think the team was. It was a bit of a nothing team, I think, from what I know. It's before my time. It was actually the year I was born, 84, so it's a good year.
Hey.
But he was racing for them, and it seems that he impressed people very much, and he was kind of competing with people in a completely uncompetitive car. So he sort of got more and more notoriety, became more popular, and then Senna moved from Lotus to McLaren in 1988, and that's kind of where he started to get his championships and stuff and his big wins. But he was always competing against sort of Alain Prost. They had a rivalry quite early on, I think, in 84, I think was the first kind of conflict that they had.
Well, they were at the start. They were kind of friendly in a way, and then it kind of. And then that changed really quickly.
I do remember as a kid. I think because like I say, I started watching it around about the time that Senna passed away. So I saw that the next sort of drivers were people like Damon Hill and Schumacher, and they kind of had a rivalry. And with me and my dad, it was always about watching the rivalry between the drivers and their interviews together. So I really enjoyed seeing a lot of the footage with Prost and Senna together, and that kind of that "fuck you, I hate you" tension that's underneath. You know, it was tense. It was tense, and particularly obviously on the track, they had a few run-ins. 1989 race, and they're at Suzuka. It's the final race of the season, and it's the championship has come down to this last race. And so the race result would determine who's world champion. And Senna's coming in the inside, I think it was, and he's got the speed, he's got the momentum behind him, and Prost knows that he needs to back off and give him the corner because he can't defend that because Senna's going much too quickly, and he's got him, but he turns in. Prost retires. Senna goes through the chicane and carries on the race. Goes in the pits. Right. He goes in the pits. He gets a new front wing put on. Rejoins the race in 5th, and then has the race of his life and gets to first position. And that. I loved that. That was incredible. An incredible race. But then and then they say him going through rejoining the race through the chicane was an illegal move, and they say we're taking the championship away from you. We're going to ban you for 6 months, and we're going to fine you £100,000, dollars. Yeah, it was robbed, completely and totally robbed. Imagine how he must have felt. That would have been a win. He would have won a championship from that, and he just bloody well deserved it. I didn't realise that 1994 season 2 people died.
So someone died like a day or two beforehand during
in his qualifier.
That 94 season. So Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna died. And since then,
there's been no deaths since
that race.
No. At the end of the extended cut, they were explaining that Senna was mates with a doctor. They had quite a good relationship, and I think he was appointed on the safety board for F1 after Senna passed. So he was in charge of bringing it all up to speed with the health. Up to speed. I've done it again, and brings it up to speed. I'm on fire today. I hate myself. But yeah, so he's done a great job, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Well done, Dr. Man.
Well done.
What do you reckon on this one? Technically, we're rating 2 different films here because I'm rating the extended and you're rating the theatrical.
I did quite enjoy it, even though, because, I mean, I'm not usually into racing.
And I wasn't too sure what I was expecting out of this documentary. I quite liked that, they had the voiceovers throughout the footage.
Yeah.
I think most documentaries that I've seen, usually you have those voiceovers, like a video footage of them saying what they're thinking. So it was kind of nice that they just had that flowing over the actual footage. I think maybe 6.5 out of 10.
6.5.
6.5.
Okay.
What about you, Dan? What do you think?
I'm not a sports guy in general. There's not many sports that I can sit down and watch, but Formula One is one. Even for me, as someone that is interested, has a mild interest in it now, I did find it dragged. But I do think that's because of the 2 hour, 40 minutes thing. And I think there was a lot of information in there, which is great to know. But I personally think maybe the theatrical cut would be a bit better. I'm going to rate the extended cut 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. I've got a mild interest. I find Formula One fascinating because it's like a science. It's all the engineering, it's the aerodynamics, the engineering of the car, and the car goes a certain speed, and certain cars got to brake at a certain point, and you turn in a certain way, and if you get oversteer, you've got to counteract it, and all of the stuff works together so seamlessly for me. The engineering and the driver, it's like science and art, and I think it's fascinating. And Senna, I think there was one point in it where he's saying you go round and round the track. I think it was at Monte Carlo, and he said he got into this tunnel, he calls it, and I've heard a lot of people sort of say that as they go round, they do a lap, they do another lap, they do lap after lap, and they're saving a 10th here and a 10th there. And eventually they get down to their best lap. And that's what I find fascinating about it. It's that kind of skill, that art, that natural talent I find really interesting. It's not like football, is it? You know, hey, Gary, Gal, let's kick this big cow in that rectangle. You get 1 point for that. That's football. I don't know if you got that, but I don't know. I think Formula One's the most interesting sport.
Something that has stuck with me was there was a couple of lines by some Brazilian fans. Brazilian people need food, education, and health, and a little bit of joy.
Yeah.
And now that joy is gone, and that from this film that stuck with me. That
stuck with you. Yeah. It felt like it was like a big thing for them. I guess, wasn't it? It was like you saw all the footage. I didn't realise like the love. I was too young to know really, but the love and admiration that people had for this guy was off the charts, particularly in Brazil. He was a hero. For me, there was one line that stood out to me, and I keep thinking about it. And I heard this line and it really spoke to me. And I think if I could narrow down, I keep talking about my dad, but if I could narrow down one line that I think would be the reason that my dad had so much respect for this guy, it would be the line where he says, if you see a gap, you've got to go for it. If you don't go for that gap, you're no longer a race car driver. And for me, that was just it just hit me a lot. It reminded me a lot of my dad's attitudes to life and stuff. And, he's inspired me a lot. I think Senna inspired him. So I kind of felt a really personal connection particularly when he said that line. I was like, ugh, yeah. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the theatrical version. I really am. And I think I'm going to enjoy it a lot more. I wish I'd watched the theatrical version first and the extended after. I really do. But never mind.
Never mind.
You learn these things, didn't you? And I've got to do the hardest possible thing. I can't make it easy for myself.
Yeah, let's move on to Faces Places.
Let's get on to your one. Faces Places. A bit of art. I told you this earlier, but for the listeners, a previous co-host, Albert, came round yesterday. He rang me up first. What are you up to, mate? I'm like, I'm watching a French documentary about art. Got subtitles, is it? Yep, it's got subtitles. What are you watching that for? For the podcast. I'm bringing round some booze. We're going to have a drink. I ended up watching it before he came round. There's no way I could sit here with him.
I wonder what Albert would think of this film.
I'd give it this sort of film. I would like to give to him as a stitch up because I know he would never watch it. Faces Places. So 2017 came out, 89 minutes long, and the synopsis is: director Agnes Varda and photographer / muralist JR journey through rural France and form an unlikely friendship. I didn't know how much about their friendship this was going to be, about those two on a personal level. I think it didn't dive too deep into who they were. More, it definitely gave more away about Agnes than JR. Yeah. He's quite a mysterious dude, isn't he? With glasses on and his hat.
No one sees his eyes.
Yeah, but this was directed by Agnes Varda and JR as well. And I didn't know, just that I'm a cretin, but I didn't know Agnes Varda was such a big kind of French new wave filmmaker, and she's done loads. She's done loads, and I think I need to go and educate myself a little bit. So there's many reasons. I like this a lot, and there are many reasons, but that's one of the reasons. Is I think I said last week I need some culture, and I definitely got loads of that from this. So I was really, really pleased, which is good because to be honest, when I first put it on, they started to play jazz music, and I shat myself. I reached for the stop button, and then the film started, and I immediately sort of got invested in these two people. But yeah, the jazz nearly ruined it for me, very nearly. They're mates, JR and Agnes. They're mates, and they travel around in their traveling photo booth.
They've kind of both had interest in meeting each other, and they finally do. And then when they do meet, they decide to be like, hey, let's create this documentary.
Yeah.
Sometimes meeting people spontaneously, sometimes meeting people that they know and they want to catch up with. I think one of the first places that they went to was a mining town, and the lady who was in the house, she was like the last original miner. Where the building that she lives in, they did a massive mural on her building, and she just loved it, and she was gobsmacked.
Her reaction was brilliant. I thought, like, I was really studying her face when she looked at it, and she had like a shocked kind of not really knowing what to think, and then you see, and then you see the joy, but then also you see a bit of sadness in her as well. And I thought it was really, her response was just so, what's the word? Authentic, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was really lovely to see. And I really liked JR and Agnes. I thought were really lovely together. But they just seemed like really nice people too. Like making a joke, you know. What is it?
JR's constantly making jokes about like her being so old or something.
I love the one on the bench. The bit on the bench when she's sitting on the bench and he says, "You're right up there. It's a bit high for you, and your legs aren't touching the ground. Do you want a hand? Do you want me to give you a hand so you can get down all right?" I love their banter. It was hilarious.
Yeah, it was lovely.
I really liked how this was cut together. I found this to be a more engaging way of telling this little story than kind of Senna was. In that, there was a particular scene where they did the fish on the water tank.
Yeah.
And then I think JR says to Agnes, "Do you remember where we caught these fish?" And they go back, I presume they go back to the fish market, and they're taking photographs, and they find this monkfish, and it kind of goes to the eyeball of the monkfish, and then it cuts to Agnes's eye examination and explains about her eye examination. I just thought the way they did that was kind of really good. It definitely gets an extra star for me. But yeah, I thought it was cut together really well. It kept me kind of engaged in the story of those two, as well as what they're doing.
I was telling you, when I was watching this documentary, there was one part that I was like, oh my God. So when they're at the cemetery and they go to Henri Cartier-Bresson's grave, I literally got shivers because I studied him in VCE and about capturing the decisive moment. And because the university that I had to go into, because it's art school, you tend to show a folio and then talk about photographers that inspire you, and he was one of them.
Really?
And when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. I would love to go to France and just go to this. There's only like 20 people at this cemetery, but I would love to go there and actually see him. So watching this film made me want to go to France one day and, check out the rural places that they went to. They had some awesome locations.
Is JR's art still up? Does it get washed away, or like what's the deal with it?
It depends. There is certain pieces that he does that are only there for like 24, 48 hours, and then they get washed away.
Yeah.
I went to, when I was in Berlin, 2015, I did see one of his pieces still up there. So he does have art all around the world.
It was not something that I would ever choose to watch, but it was really good. I'm glad you picked it, mate.
Yay. I'm glad that you chose it as well.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to rate this one higher than Senna. I'm going to go for an 8.
I would give it an 8 as well. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, Agnes passed away last year as well.
Did
I don't
she?
know if you read that. Yeah.
I didn't. No, I didn't read that. I know this was a few years ago now. This film, 3 years ago. So it did cross my mind, but I hadn't looked it up.
Shall we move on to the next part of our double bill section?
Yes, let's move on to picking the films for next week. So we've got a theme, and it was my choice. And because, still in lockdown, it's a bit depressing. And I don't know about you, but I need a bit of a laugh. So I thought, let's go for Jim Carrey. Let's just do it. Let's do it. Let's bloody well do it. I've got about 8 different choices for Jim Carrey. So it doesn't matter, like, if we've got doubles or whatever. I don't know how many you've got, but I find it hard to narrow it down to 3.
I also find that as well. I've currently got Jim Carrey's on my letterbox. So whatever you don't choose, there'll be definitely something on my list.
Oh, improved sound quality. That is going to be disconcerting for the listener.
Oh.
Yes. I've got the 3 that I'm going to pick. I'm just going to get straight into it now. Straight into it after we've waffled for 12 minutes. The 3 that I'm going to pick are obvious choices, but they're my favourite 3 Jim Carrey films. So I'm going to pick them without any shame whatsoever. First pick. It's got to be Ace Ventura. It's got to be. There's no other first choice. First one. I do like When Nature Calls, but the first one's far superior for me. And I haven't seen it for a while. Yeah. Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. My second choice, super predictable, Dumb and Dumber. Number 1, again. Yeah. Number 2 is horrible.
I haven't seen number 2.
Don't bother. And my third pick, I'm torn between 2 here because they're kind of my joint sort of third favourite Jim Carrey film.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to go for Liar Liar.
Ooh.
My dad can't lie for 24 hours. That's what I wish for. You can't tell a lie. I hate the setup of this film. I don't like the kid in it. He annoys me. His stupid, massive, silly hair. There's me saying that with lockdown hair. Yeah. But Jim Carrey's just Jim Carrey. I think this is Jim Carrey at being the most Jim Carrey. It's Jim Carrey. Right. Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, Liar Liar.
All right.
What are you going for?
Oh, what am I going to go for? Well, I'm going to go for the other Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls. It's my number 1. Second choice. Ooh. Now let's go something funny. I'm going to go The Mask. And something that I haven't seen yet is Man on the Moon. That's my third choice.
On the Moon. Have you seen?
I've seen Jim and Andy.
Ah, yes.
I have seen Jim and Andy. And from that I was like, ooh, I need to watch Man on the Moon. So yeah, they're my 3 picks.
Okay, so between us then, I've picked Ace Ventura 1, Dumb and Dumber 1, and Liar Liar. You've picked Ace Ventura number 2, The Mask, and Man on the Moon.
I'm going to get rid of Dumb and Dumber.
You're going to get rid of Dumb and Dumber?
Yeah.
Samsonite. Pretty bird, pretty bird, pretty bird.
What are you going to get rid of?
I was robbed by an old lady on a motorized cart. Okay, so I've got to knock one out of yours. I'm going to knock out When Nature Calls.
Okay.
Because I watched it not long ago. So we've now got left Ace Ventura and Liar Liar in my list. The Mask and Man on the Moon in your list. Would you like me to start with Pet Detective?
Sure.
Yeah. Alrighty then. I shall start with Pet Detective. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And that is the reason why this is on the list. Job done. This came out when I was 10 years old. And I think I watched it when it came on Sky in, I guess, 95 it would have been. So I would have been about 11 when I saw it. And it just was something else for me. Like I didn't realise that I could laugh so much at something. He's very silly. I mean, that goes without saying. I mean, you just got to look at a picture to see in his outfits and his big Hawaiian shirts and his hair,
Yeah.
and it all just
My
makes this perfect, ridiculous character.
When my brother would have been in either grade 5 or grade 6. I don't know why. I think there must have been like either some film you had to dress up as like your favorite character kind of thing, and Ace Ventura was my brother's favorite character of all time.
Yeah.
If I can find a photo of him when he dressed up as Ace Ventura, I'll try and source that out.
I love it. I love it. I need to steal that costume. Halloween next.
Yeah.
Oh,
brilliant.
But yeah, I think it's hilarious, this film. The basic setup is he's a pet detective and someone hires him to track down the missing is it dolphin? It's a dolphin, isn't it? Is it dolphin or a whale? It's a fish.
Sure.
To track down a big fish. I realise how moronic that makes me sound, but I'm going to go with it as part because it's a joke. Some of it might be a little bit
Politically incorrect.
Yes. I mean, it's not ill-intentioned or anything like that. I don't feel it is. But it's just a little bit like, ooh, you know. But to be honest, it doesn't ruin the enjoyment of the film for me. It's still fucking hilarious, and and that's why it's on my list. I could talk about this for hours. This isn't even a review bit. I've got to talk about Liar Liar still. When did this come out? I want to say 1997, I think.
Should we find out for you?
Yeah, let's find out. And you find out while I talk about it.
1997. Very
1997. Okay. So I went to see us at my local cinema. I sat in the third row on the right. I think 2 chairs in from the walkway. And I remember it very clearly. And I just remember just absolutely dying of laughter. I think I said earlier that the start of the film, the kid's a whiny kid moaning about his dad. And I hated it. I hated it. But then as soon as the liar stuff comes in,
the pen is blue.
It's royal blue. And that whole stuff with the wig in the boardroom, and it's ridiculous. It's farcical, but it's very funny. And I always the outtakes always stuck with me as well at the very end of the film, where Jim Carrey's just doing silly things in between takes. And can you imagine a day on set with Jim Carrey in the 90s must have been just absolutely unpredictable and hilarious. Ace Ventura, Liar Liar. So what have you got? You've got The Mask and Man on the Moon.
Have you seen either of them? You've definitely seen The Mask, obviously.
Again, I saw The Mask at the pictures of the little boy. Mm-hmm. And yes, I've seen Man on the Moon as well.
Yeah. So Man on the Moon is about the life of comedian Andy Kaufman. And in the documentary of this, you actually get to, like, Jim Carrey kind of turns into him in a way.
He lost his mind, to be fair, didn't he? It feels like he kind of lost his mind a little bit.
Absolutely.
But fascinating. And you got The Mask.
The Mask, yes. That came out in 1994. So it's about Jim Carrey, and he finds this mask, and then when he puts it on in the evening, he just turns into this completely different crazy
lunatic. Good screen fucking lunatic, just tearing up the city with.
And then he doesn't know what the fuck happens the next day.
Yeah, at one point the dog puts on the mask.
Yes. Oh my god, yes.
Milo, the keys, Milo, not the cheese.
I've watched this so many times when I was little. I think I must have recorded it on VHS. That, and also with Liar Liar, I watched it so many times when I was younger, religiously, constantly putting it on. So that's why I've chosen those 2 films.
Okie dokie. Look, I think any other week, I think I would have been torn on what to choose. But given that this week we wanted to choose Jim Carrey as a bit of a laugh, a bit lighthearted, I'm going to knock out Man on the Moon, and I'm going to keep The Mask. Because of that reason, because I want a bloody good laugh, mate. And Man on the Moon is a really good film. I really like it. I'd highly recommend it. Might be a little bit heavy, if I remember rightly. So let's keep it light. Let's watch a film about a dude who puts on a mask and
Fucking
makes
goes
fart
insane.
jokes. Yeah.
Out of yours, I'm definitely choosing Ace Ventura.
You're choosing Ace, no hesitation whatsoever.
No fucking hesitation.
Okay.
I was like, no matter what, I go, I know you're going to have an Ace Ventura film, and I'm definitely choosing that.
Great. Okay, so Jim
Yes.
Carrey, double bill next week will be Ace Ventura and The Mask. Super predictable, but I don't care. I think that it's going to be funny, and I want to watch them. And up yours if you disagree. Might take that out. I've got a few. I've got a few honourable mentions. Like I said, all of mine would have been pretty obvious. Albert and I have already covered Yes Man early on in the podcast, so we couldn't choose that.
And we couldn't choose Truman either because I chose that on the first pod.
I nearly put on The Cable Guy because I really like that film a lot.
Yeah. Well, Eternal Sunshine was another possibility, but it's not quite comedic, and I feel like we wanted a bit of a laugh this week, so that's why I didn't put it on my list.
It's a bit of a downer, that one. We want some funny stuff. Me, myself, and Irene. That makes me laugh.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a bit in it and he makes a joke about a dildo, which is hilarious. Let's move on then. Jim Carrey next week. Let's move on to the next bit, which is Stitch Up. So last week I lost and I had to watch Fantasy Island. 2020 film. It's directed by Jeff Wadlow and it's 109 minutes long. And I felt every single one of them 109 minutes. This film is horrible.
Oh, yes, good.
It's not good. It's not good. The thing is about this film is that when it came out, which was not long ago, when it came out, I thought it looked all right. I watched the trailers and I was like, yeah, this looks all right. I'll probably go and watch this. And then the reviews came out and I took a hard pass because everyone said it was toilet. And they were 100% right. It's frustrating because you can see that maybe there would be a good film in there eventually in terms of the setup and the whole idea of living out your fantasies. I mean, they could have gone to some really interesting places, but they just totally didn't. It's based on a show, apparently. I didn't realise this until earlier on today, but it's based on an old TV show. And basically the setup, the premise is that these people go to this island and they live out their fantasies. And they've all got their own fantasies. And Michael Pena is kind of the boss of the island. He runs the island and, like a hotel manager sort of thing. But everyone explains their fantasies to him or writes it in a letter or whatever. And he makes it come true somehow. And you don't know how, like initially. They're kind of speculating. They're going, is it virtual reality? Have they put drugs in our drinks? And it's none of them. It's a magic waterfall.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's disappointing.
It's a spring, right? So there's this magic spring that makes this water come out. This water comes out, and it's magic water, and somehow this magic water makes people
hallucinate,
turns them into zombies, and then maybe the zombies kidnap people in order for the contestants to win out their fantasies. And then, but then, so everyone's got their own fantasy, and you see people there. One woman wants to say yes to a marriage proposal that she'd previously said no to. She regrets that, so she wants to relive that moment. So she says yes, and they get married, and then it goes forward 5 years, and they're married, and they've got a kid. So that's her fantasy. She's living it out. Super boring, but who cares? There's another one where a woman just wants to get revenge on a school bully. So what happens is they kidnap the school bully and they strap her in a chair and they're trying to like cut her arm off and stuff. And that's what she wants. But when she realizes that it's real, spoiler, it's real. It's not virtual reality or drugs. She wants to save the bully. And there's another dude whose dad died in a war, and he goes and meets up with his dad. That was probably the most interesting one. So what I'm trying to say is they've all got their own fantasies, but as the film goes on, you realise that they might be in someone else's fantasy. And then maybe they're in that fantasy, or maybe not. and then maybe immediately you find out that it's not that second fantasy, it's another layer of fantasy. And it's like they try to do like a layer of fantasy, like they did with Inception, like a layer of dreams or something like that. But it just totally didn't work. You didn't know what was going on. I think there was a couple of scenes in this that made me laugh a little bit. There's two guys in it, two brothers, and they kind of have the cliche party, scantily clad women, scantily clad men, and it's kind of that cliche, but they're the funniest bit in it. Yeah, I mean, I don't got that much more to say about it because it's rubbish. But I was disappointed because it started and I thought it might have been all right. I wasn't expecting anything, I wasn't expecting Apocalypse Now, but I was hoping it was going to be maybe a 5 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10 for me. But with the magic spring stuff, there was some pretty bad acting. Some of the effects felt very TV-ish sort of effects. It was low budget, so I guess it was kind of looked pretty good for what it was and what they were trying to achieve. But yeah, the magic spring and the zombies and not knowing what was going on, 2.5 stars because it was so convoluted.
Wow.
I just didn't know what was going on. It just didn't make any sense. And maybe the guy who runs the island, maybe he's a good guy, or maybe he's a good guy doing something for a bad reason. Maybe he's been doing this bad thing for a long time, but maybe he just changes his mind immediately out of nowhere for no reason, with no development, or just I'm going to stop being bad now.
Okay.
That's my decision. Rubbish.
All right, Dan.
Rubbish.
Whole point of Stitch Up, mate.
Which leads us on to finding out who's going to be watching their Stitch Up for next week. Because I put a poll on.
Did ya?
I did, yeah. I did, mate. And because you voted.
I only voted once, I promise.
So the poll.
How many votes?
I put it on yesterday, and we had 21 votes in total.
Oi.
And I wouldn't say it's close. I mean, I looked at it yesterday when I put it on, and it was a landslide at that point.
Yeah.
And it has evened up a little bit more, but still, with 14 votes, you're going to be watching Catwoman.
Cool.
How do you feel about that?
Not the worst movie, I don't think. I think you need to go a bit harder, man.
I've got a feeling you might be surprised at just how bad it is.
Okay.
I hope so. You can only hope. I cross my fingers and I cross my legs, and that's the aim. I hope you hate it.
I'm thinking, it's probably maybe like a 3 or a 4, which is
Stars.
still quite bad. Yeah, it's still quite bad.
I'm hoping for less than a 2.
It's no Artemis fucking Fowl.
Albert watched that. He loved it. It was great. Maybe we should get him on one week and he can talk about Artemis Fowl. We'll get him to review it. We can compare. Right. Next poll, next Stitch Up. What we have you got a film in mind that you're going to choose for me?
I went first last week. What are you going to choose for me, mate?
Battlefield Earth. It's another John Travolta.
I have that on my list for you. Yeah, cool. Okay.
You better take it off now, aren't you?
That does look shit.
Oh my God,
right,
I made such a good choice then.
Yeah, that does.
I knocked it out of yours.
Done.
Yes.
Bravo.
Right.
Also, because your Stitch Up, well, originally it was Stitch Up for Albert's on your letterbox.
Yeah.
And you had this on his list.
Oh no, you can't go into my list. That's not fair.
No. But I also, Dimitri has reviewed this as a 1-star film.
I think I know what this is. Go on.
Pink Flamingos.
Isn't it? It's about depraved sex, basically, I think, isn't it? Or have I got this completely wrong?
Notorious criminal and underground figure Divine goes up against Connie and Raymond Marble, a sleazy married couple who attempts to embarrass her and sees the tabloids giving title The Filthiest Person Alive. Okay.
All right, so Battlefield Earth for you versus Pink Flamingos for me for the next poll, which will be on your Instagram. And what is your Instagram?
Nika Creative or Chica Nika for my personal Instagram.
But yeah, if you wanna catch up with me on Instagram, I'm flick.face, Twitter I'm flick_face. If you want to email the show, email us at twinpixpod@gmail.com. We're getting a few suggestions for themes and stuff like that on Instagram, and I've got an idea from someone's account last week, which I haven't told you about yet, but that can go on at some point. So yeah, it's good. We need to get some more interaction going. It's very nice to talk to people in this time of isolation and uncertainty.
I can't meet any followers at the moment, unless we do video Zoom chats.
You could do so. I mean, you're our Australian ambassador, Nicole, and our Australian listenership is going up. More people are listening in Australia than they are in the UK at the moment.
There you go.
So all you got to do is go and meet every single person in Australia. Get making those macaroons, mate. Take some soup. That's what you need to do. Get your soup party. Yeah, your soup swapping.
My Thai coconut soup.
Should we finish this now? Because I think we've spoken enough.
I need to go to bed, mate.
Yeah, you need to go to bed. It's very late for you, so I'm going to let you go. But if you want to catch up, we've done that bit. Next episode is going to be our Jim Carrey episode, and I'm looking forward to that, especially because you're going to be watching Catwoman as well. So yeah, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. See ya. Bye.